Hey, and welcome to the studio. For today's project, I wanted to show you this card and how I use the Scalloped tag topper punch to make this sweet closure. This is in no way my own idea. It's all over the internet, but it's such a fun idea I thought I would show you my process. So let's start. I use my Stampin' Trimmer, and I just took a full sheet of Tempting Turquoise cardstock, which is 8.5 by 11, and cut it in half. So then I'm left with an 8.5 by 5.5 inch piece. I'm going to begin by feeding it into my trimmer and lining it up on the 2.5 inch mark. And I'm just going to put my little, I don't even need to put this arm down, but I will just so I don't knock it around. What I'm going to do at this point is just make a mark so that I know where to use the scallop punch. Now, you could use your scoring blade and just make little bumps in the cardstock, but that's not going to show up for today. So I'm going to use a pen so y'all can see what I'm doing. And I'm just putting my dot right where the trough in the cutter is on both ends of the cardstock. We're going to need the trimmer again, so I'm not going to put it too far out of reach. And then I'm going to grab my Scalloped tag topper punch. Now, it was originally created to be used with a 2-inch wide piece of cardstock here. I have a tag that I made. Actually, let me grab it for you real quick. You can hear me rolling across the studio to grab it. So I made this tag for a customer, and I simply used a 2-inch piece of cardstock and fed it in there to get that cute little tag detail, or the scallop detail at the top. For our project today, I am actually not going to cut anything down. You can actually scooch your cardstock through. Let me show you. So, as always, I punch upside down because I can see what I'm doing better. And so I'm going to, at an angle, encourage this cardstock in. There we go. And then I'm going to line it up so that my little black Sharpie mark, which you can see, lines up to the top of that scallop, and then I'm going to punch and grab out all the little bits. Okay. And then I'm just going to carefully pull it out so I don't catch anything, and then do the same on the other side, just gently. I call it encouraging. I just want to do this ever so gently. And again, you can see my little mark from the Sharpie pen, and I have lined it up with the scallop. Now you'll notice I'm not perfectly even on the ends. I did that on purpose just for looks. You can line it up however you want, but that's placed well. And the reason you have to be careful and make that measurement or make that mark is so that when you do close the card, the two little closures are on the same parallel. Okay, so I'm finished with this punch now, so I'm going to set it aside, and I'm going to bring back out my trimmer. So here we go. And the next step is going to be to get rid of these extra bits here. And so I'm going to push my cardstock up against the little bump up here, the little ledge, and I am going to scooch it so that the trough of the cut for the cutting blade is met and meets the trough from where I cut the scallop out. There's a little valley there. And then I'm going to leave my arm propped up just a bit to bring my cutting blade in. And I drop it and I kind of wiggle it back and forth, and I know it's between the scalloped punched portion and the rest. And then I can push and trim away the excess. And you'll notice on my blades here, I've marked which one is scoring and which one is cutting, so I don't make a mistake, because that can be a bummer of a mistake to make. Okay, so I'm going to come back down here. I've just got the arm resting on my thumb here to kind of line it up by sight, and then, yep, I feel it wiggle a little bit, so I'm going to push and trim and get rid of that little piece. And then before I move this, I'm going to use the scoring blade and just score across the scallop, and you'll see why I do that in just a minute. Then let's flip this around, do the same thing, same song, second verse. I'm going to line it, I'm going to push it up against the ledge here and then line up these two little valleys with the trough of my blade, for my blade, and then find that little spot, push down and trim, and do it, oops, No, not there yet. There it is. Just takes, oh, looks like I was a little bit close on that one, but this will be the back of the card so you won't see it. Okay, so there we go. Now, you'll notice that I scored this little bit here. I am going to just bring that forward. And then I'm going to line up this edge of my card with the 4 1/4 mark because this is going to be the right edge of the card. And I'm going to put this nasty cutting blade away, and I'm just going to use my scoring blade. And now, look at what I am left with. My card body, okay? So let me get rid of the trimmer real quick. And, all right, I'm just going to take a bone folder, if I can find where I set it. There it is. And, oops, excuse me. And crisp up my edges. There we go. Okay, very hard to see. Now, in my first example, I ran the card body through the Big Shot to get some polka dot detail. And you can do that. I thought it'd be fun if I left the 2 scallops flat with no embossing detail. But the bummer is that the edge of the embossing plate left me with that little line. And then the behind the scenes footage here shows that we've got about 1.5 inches of scallop along the back. So just be warned that those are a couple of things that can happen if you choose to add the scallop. I love the detail, but just for purposes of brevity today, I think I'll hold off on embossing the Tempting Turquoise piece and just show you what I did with the rest of the card. It doesn't totally take away from it, but I just wanted to talk you through a couple of the things I learned. Okay, so I'm doing this card including 2 different stamp sets. The first stamp set is where I got the sweet cake, and it's from the Make a Cake stamp set. And please forgive the glare, but there are lots of fun bits, and we'll mess around with those. And then I love the sentiment from the Yippee Skippy stamp set. Here it is. And it's Carb Schmarbs Eat the Cake. So we're going to use those 2 today. And I'm going to set my sample aside and show you the rest of what we're going to work on here. So I have a piece of Melon Mambo that I cut out using my Circles collection framelits, and then I fed it through the Big Shot a second time with the Perfect Polka Dots Textured Impressions embossing folder. So I'm going to set that aside, and then I use the same set of framelits, but just a smaller circle, to cut out this piece of Whisper White. And I've already put the cake on it, and then I have my Stamp-A-Majig all ready to go, because I've already done this once. I feel like Martha trading out things that are already half ready. I'm going to line up where I would like that top layer to be. And then I'm going to bring the handle to the Stamp-A-Majig, and I'm just going to slide it into place, make sure it's nice and firm with the plastic sheet, and then move the plastic sheet. And then I have my stamp still on the block. I haven't moved it, because once you move a stamp off a block, you have to redo your Stamp-A-Majig when you stamp on the plastic. But nothing has moved, and I've been really careful not to move my handle. Ink it up one more time just to be safe. And there we go. And there is the top layer of my cake. Now the next portion isn't so critical that it be spot on, but just for purposes of showing you today, I am going to now line up the butterflies. And please forgive me, there's some old adhesive or something stuck on the back of this sheet, so it looks kind of grungy, but it's not, believe me. Okay, so I'm going to find where I want those butterflies to be, and then I'm going to set my handle on top and move the plastic sheet away. Get my ink pad ready, and I would probably advise you actually get your ink pad ready before you let go of the plastic handle, just to be careful. I'm going to ink up my butterflies and stamp, and there they are. Okay, so now what I'm going to do with this little piece is just put some Stampin' Dimensionals on it to make it pop up from the piece of Melon Mambo that I've prepared. So, and I'm going to be careful because always when I do a video, if I'm not careful, I smear what I just stamped. So I'm going to be careful not to touch those places where there's potentially some wet ink. Let's get the backing off the dimensionals. And then just for fun, I made this a straight edge for my circle And then I just hacked off a side because I thought it was cute when it's put up on that tempting turquoise piece. Okay, so that part's done. The next step is our sentiment, and I made that with the Yippee Skippy stamp set, and you can notice there are two different colors on there. The comma is a little close to the letters here for me to use an ink pad. Sometimes you can carefully use your ink pad. In this case, I'm going to use the brush tip of my Stampin' Write marker, and I'm going to start with the Melon Mambo and just carefully color in the words. And I try to be very methodical about how I fill this in so I don't miss anything. And then I'm going to use the brush tip to my Tempting Turquoise and go in carefully. I generally start with the lighter color first, especially if I'm using like my So Saffron or something like that, so that if I bump an area, I'm not bumping a dark area with a light marker. Not that it would ruin it forever, but I don't want to take that chance. Okay, if you feel like you've taken a little bit of time to color this in and you want to make sure the ink is wet, you can just huff on it like you would clean your sunglasses, and then just stamp. And there you go. Fantastic. And then I'm going to use my Duo Ticket Builder punch. Let me grab that. And once again, you'll see that I am going to punch it upside down. So I'll feed it in and line it up. It's pretty snug in here, and I just have to make sure that we're straight and that I catch the exclamation point and everything. And there we go. The way I punched this, I missed the little tag, but there's another little tag that you can get with this if you want. So I cut a 5 by, let me think, 5 1/4 by 4 inch piece of Whisper White, and then I went in another 1/4 inch, so a 5 by 3 3/4 inch piece of Melon Mambo to make the inside of this card. And so I will just adhere that on the inside. But let me show you the exciting parts here. I'm going to make sure when I add my adhesive that I'm going to put it along that edge there, just because that would be where it would be likely to be maybe separated from the card. And I'm going to line it up with the fold in my card, just like that. And work my way around so that's nice and adhered. And then the Carbs Schmarbs sentiment, I'm just going to put it down here. So let me do that with a little bit of adhesive. Whoops. And line that up so it's nice and straight. Okay, the last little bit is the tying of the closure. This is an 11 inch piece of the Whisper White stitched grosgrain, and this is a good size to tie a decent bow. So from the right hand side of your card, you're going to go in from the top, feed it through, and you're going to come out from the bottom of the left hand one, just like that, looking a little bit like you're going to tie your shoes. And then I just make a bow, make a loop, and then I kind of flop this one over the loop and then pinch it through, all the while holding the card closed, just so it's a nice crisp bow and it's nice and closed. And then sometimes I have to twist some ends to get some cooperation here. And there we go. Let me pull it a little bit tight. And then I'm just going to use my paper snips to trim off the ends. Give them a little bit of a point there to finish the look. One more. And we are set. So a super simple but really cute way to make a special closure for a card using the Scalloped Tag Topper Punch. I appreciate your time today, and I hope you have a great one. Thanks. Bye-bye.